on the left, sorry, on the right, are my layers panel. For some reason, even though I clicked on the top of photo 4, it went all the way to the top of my layers. So I'm just gonna click and drag that photo all the way down till I get to photo 4, because that's where I want it. And I'm gonna place it on top of that. And if you've used Photoshop, you'll see this is very similar to working with layers in Photoshop. So I'm gonna put that right on top there, just to make it easier. And then there's a couple ways you can resize that photo. You can either go to your transform tool area. You want to always make sure, see now it says transform at the top, then lock children, not exactly sure what that is. Order, flip, rotate, dimensions, that's where we're gonna go. You're gonna click on that little lock in the middle. That way it locks the constraints so that if you make the width bigger, the height gets bigger at the same time. And if you click on the 528 pixels, the width, that'll bring up a little pad and you can just kind of judge. So I'm gonna make that 1,000. I'm gonna double that picture. And then I'm just gonna click on the image and it gets bigger. And that wasn't big enough. So I'm just gonna go back, click on that again, and I'm gonna make it, let's do 2,000. That might be too big, but we'll see. Actually, I think that's pretty good. That's just my son trying to find eggs in our living room. Now you also can bring the corners of the image in using those little dots to make it smaller or bigger, but sometimes it skews it and it doesn't constrain correctly. So sometimes I use that, sometimes I don't. It really depends. Now, I want that image to clip into the mask that said photo 4 on it. I want it to be perfect in there. Right now it's too big. I want it to be perfect into that little black area there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back to my layers panel to the right, upper right, and I'm gonna click on the image that's already highlighted, and I'm gonna, drag that into the photo 4 layer until I see that little blue bar. So you see how that little blue bar like highlights in the middle of photo 4? And then I take my finger out, oh, it didn't do it, hold on. There, now it clipped into that mask area. Okay, now that I've showed you how to pull in a image from Dropbox, I'm going to move on and show you how to pull one in from iCloud, which is the method I use the most. So I'm going to click on photo 6 over to the right next to snapshots. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to pull up my dock by swiping up on my iPad very slowly. And I'm going to click on that little folder icon, and then I'm going to drag that up. There we go. And that's going to bring up my images. I am going to swipe this over this way so that I can see where I want to put the photo, and then I'm going to pick the one I want. I'm going to pick this one, and I'm just going to drag and drop it over. And this is going to be really big. Yeah, see, it became huge. So I'm going to go back to my transform area. Actually, first I'm going to get rid of that by just sliding it over. Remember how I told you I like to anchor it in the center? It's just easier for me to move it that way. And as you can see in the dimensions area, remember I'm going to click on that little lock in between before I even think about making it smaller, adjusting it. And then I'm going to click on it's 24,000 pixels. That's huge. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to make it 1,000. There we go. So if I click back on that little layer, that little adjustment thing, it'll get rid of that toolbar. So I'm going to move this. Now remember I said sometimes I will take the corner of it and make it bigger. Just be careful so you don't skew it. You want the height and the width to adjust evenly. There we go. And I'm going to clip that in. Again, the way to clip it is go into my layers panel right there. And I'm going to like kind of drag and drop it down into photo 6. There we go. And you'll see how it kind of changes. You see in the layer that says photo 6, now it has that little arrow to the left. That shows that it clipped in. So I'm going to get rid of my layers panel so you can kind of see. And, you know, you can still move it around in there and see how it's, you know, it's clipped. If you want to adjust it or whatever. Okay, and you can still make it bigger even though it's clipped. Okay. Okay. So now that I'm showing you photos, how to put photos in, I'm going to show you a couple of elements. So this template is by Cindy Schneider. I got it off of sweetshopdesigns.com. And it just makes things a lot easier for me. I found that when I'm not using templates, I have to think and I don't get my pages done. And I feel like you can still be very creative. I change things around. I take elements out. I add extra elements. So they're a lot of fun to work with and they make things easier for me so that I'm able to get my pages done and my memory scrapped. Also, the kit I'm going to be using is called Eggs Sighting. It's EGG-CITING. And that's also from Sweet Shop Designs. It's by Blagovesta Goshiva. I probably completely chopped that poor lady's name, but just want to give credit where credit is due. So what I usually do for my elements is, I'm going to click on, in the upper right hand corner, there's like 3 little flowers. Now I have boys. I don't use a lot of flowers. I usually use other things. I'll use a flower here and there, but not a lot. So with my Move tool selected, I'm going to click on one of those flowers. Again, just so my element kind of lands in the right spot when I pull it in. So I'm going to swipe over from my right hand side, and that little bar comes back up. Now I don't want my pictures, I want my elements. So let's see, I'll go right here, and I really like these little eggs and stuff like that. I think that's super cute. So this is what I like to do. I'll just click on one of these eggs, for instance. I'm going to angle it a little bit. Let me go to transform and I just want that a little smaller. I'm going to make it 450. There we go. So I like to copy and paste the drop shadows directly from the designer. Just makes things a lot easier for me. So I'm going to click on that little flower that I'm substituting the element. I'm substituting that egg for that flower. I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to go back up to the persona thing at the top. And those 3 little dots that I showed you before, I'm going to click on that. And if you go to the second one down with the little scissors says Paster Board. Click on that. And I'm going to click Copy. Now, that copied everything, including the effects, the shadows and stuff. So I'm going to click on my egg now. I'm going to go back to the three dots, go back to the paste or board option, and paste FX. FX are layer effects. Paste that, and now you'll see that there's a little drop shadow on there. And then what I do is I go back to my flower, and I go to my layers panel, and I click it off. I don't even delete it. I click it off just in case I ever wanted it or whatever. And I'm just gonna like adjust that where I want it, okay? And that's how you do an element. I hope this helps. I will try to make another video on exporting, but like I showed you, if you go to the home page, you'll see tutorials, and in tutorials, you'll see the exporting, and that'll show you how to export it to whatever. There's JPEG, PSD, SVG, all different TIFF, anything. Okay, and I hope that helps. Have a great day. Bye.